Hey, man. Tomorrow's a big one. Hey, tomorrow is as big as it gets. Tomorrow is as big as it gets. Colts, Raiders, 1 o'clock. This is it, man. If you don't win this game, you're done. You can just say goodbye to the playoffs, man. But this is it right here. You've got the Las Vegas Raiders coming to town. They're 6-8. Look, you've got to look at this football team, and you've got to take them very seriously. They're coming off of 2 wins. 1 win against the Chargers, 63-21 or something like that. Fine. Okay, it was against the Chargers. Fine, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that the Chargers suck. But then they go into Arrowhead and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little, I don't want to say scared, but I'm a little weary of this team because I'm well aware of what they are. Last time, this is I don't know if you want to call this a little bit of PTSD with what happened back in 2021, but the Colts were in a very similar situation where they needed to beat the Raiders. They needed to win one more game to get into the playoffs in 2021. And they lost to the Raiders in Week 17 at home. And look where we're at now. We're in Week 17 against the Raiders at home. We've got a great opportunity to continue to stay in the playoff race with one more week to go after this game against the Raiders. But man, I cannot overstate how big this game is. I can't. And I was fired up for that Steelers game. And that was a fun game. But man, I'm really just like, I'm locked in, right? I feel like I'm playing tomorrow. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Man, I cannot wait for this game. I cannot wait to get inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Let me tell you something about these Raiders fans. These Raiders fans are rowdy. Okay, I've been to plenty of Colts Raiders games. Okay, they show up every single time. The Raiders fans are a very faithful bunch. They travel very well. I know a few Raiders fans. I've worked with a few Raiders fans. They are when it comes to their football team, they're a cocky bunch. Even though the Raiders haven't been very good over the last 20 or so years, they're still a very confident bunch. And when they'll get in there and they'll talk their shit. Okay? So, to any Colts fan, you gotta be ready. You gotta be rowdy. So I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. Okay? So tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Okay? That's a big deal. The Raiders, they still have a chance to get into the playoffs. The Raiders right now, they sit in 11th in the AFC at 7-8. The Colts, they are 7th in the AFC at 8-7. The Colts got to win this one. They've got to win this one. If they don't win this one, you can forget about it. You can forget about it. I don't even want to go through the scenarios of what could happen if the Colts lose, because if the Colts lose, that's it. I'm done with the season. Like, that to me is going to be like the final nail in the coffin. So you got to win, and you can't play like you did last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Man, that was absolutely awful. Your intensity's got to be there. Your attention to detail's got to be there. Every player has got to be on. And something that I think will matter, will make a difference in this game is Michael Pittman. Potentially. We don't know for sure. We're probably not going to know until about an hour and a half before tomorrow's game if Michael Pittman Jr. is back in the lineup. But if he's back in the lineup, like I said in my picks video, the Colts are going to win this game. But he is absolutely vital to this Colts offense. He is crucial on long yardage situations, short yardage situations. He extends the field. He extends, the play. And he is the best player on the offense outside of Jonathan Taylor. But Jonathan Taylor got bottled up last week. He was like 2.6 yards per carry. Man, it was just, you've got to get Jonathan Taylor going. You have to dominate at the line of scrimmage. You've got to dominate in the trenches. And Max Crosby's having a defensive player of the year like season. Now, I don't think he'll end up getting the defensive player of the year. I think they'll eventually go to Myles Garrett or maybe even Micah Parsons. I'm thinking Myles Garrett. But Max Crosby's a stud, dude. He is a baller, man. And he is wrecking games lately. That defensive line, that defense for the Raiders is playing really well. They're playing absolutely well. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little like, okay, we need to be on our shit. Like I said, we need to be on our shit. But one thing I'm confident about is finally Braden Smith, after a month or so of being gone, finally he practiced this week. From the reports, it said that he looked like he had a good week of practice. Same thing with Pittman. We don't know if he's going to be starting, if he's going to be playing, until probably about an hour and a half before the game when they release the inactives list. And hopefully his name and Pittman's name don't show up. And he's over now that right side. He would be matched up with Crosby. So that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Without all that, through all that, it's a Week 17 game. Playoffs are right around the corner. And this matters so much. The Jaguars, just in case you want to know who the Colts should root for. The game that the Colts fans should be on the edge of their seat watching. There's two games, one of them for sure. The Bengals. The Bengals need to lose to the Chiefs. The Bengals are at Kansas City at 4:25. That should be a good game. Okay, the Chiefs are sliding a little bit. They need a get-right game, and hopefully they take care of business against Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has that head-to-head win, head-to-head tiebreaker over us, and if we finish with the same record, and we're the only two teams with that record, they're going to get in over us. And then you want to look at the Texans. I'm not worried about the Texans because we still play them next week. If they win, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect us at the moment. If they lose, even then, I don't think it affects us, because I think if the Texans lose, that would affect the Jaguars. I'm not going to get into all that. So I'm not really, if you want to get greedy, I guess the Texans losing would be great. Sure. This game isn't so huge, just if you keep winning. The Steelers losing to the Seahawks, that's a game you want to root for the Seahawks. Like I said, the Bengals, you want to root for the Kansas City Chiefs. Go Chiefs. I'm with my cousin Charlie on this one this week. I'm a diehard Chiefs fan as well as a Colts fan. I guess the Broncos bench Russell Wilson. I think they're punting on the season, to be completely honest with you. The Broncos are done. But one more team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who said that Trevor Lawrence is not going to play this Sunday. For the first time in his career, he's going to miss a game. They're playing Carolina in Jacksonville. It's the NFL. You never know what might happen. The Carolina Panthers 2 weeks ago, they won their second game in the season 9-7 over the Atlanta Falcons. And then the Atlanta Falcons come in, and beat us up. And then the Carolina Panthers go, I think, on the road into Lambeau, I think, and force the Green Bay Packers into overtime. And an overtime win. Anything could happen. So I'm definitely, if any scenario can happen this Sunday, this is what I want to happen. The Colts win and the Jaguars lose. Oh man, because that would mean the Colts would be in first in the AFC South, and the Colts would be for the time being, having a home playoff game. And that right there is the ultimate goal. That right there is the ultimate goal. But man, it's just, we are right here. It's Week 17. We've got to take care of this Raiders team. We've got to get them back, man. We've got to get them back. This team kept us out of the playoffs, and was one of the reasons we kept us out of the playoffs. And I have memories of Derek Carr completing that pass to Hunter Renfrow on a 3rd and long or a 4th and long, and Darius Leonard was right there getting ready to sack him. I have vivid memories of that, and then I also have vivid memories of Carson Wentz overthrowing T.Y. Hilton on the left side to give the Colts a first down when the Colts were up by 4 points. You've got to take care of business. You've got to take care of business in this game, and you can't let opportunities go. You really have to control the game. You have to control the trenches, and you have to dominate the game. There are a couple players on the offense for the Raiders out. Josh Jacobs has been out for a while. Is Aiden O'Connell going to be able to do it? He didn't complete a pass in the last 3 quarters of last week's game. It was all defense. They've had two defensive touchdowns in back-to-back games. That is such an anomaly. Do you think it's going to continue? Hopefully not. Hopefully the Colts don't have, don't give up 2 defensive touchdowns in this game. If they do, they're not going to win the football game. But that's what's been the success for the Raiders so far. Just 3 weeks ago, they lost to the Vikings 3-0. So this Raiders team is weird. I think that they're rallying under Antonio Pierce, who is trying to make a strong case for being the head coach next year for the Las Vegas Raiders. But you can't let this team come into Lucas Oil Stadium and beat you, especially when the playoffs are on the line. If you're for real, if you want Shane Steichen, if you're for real, you've got a team, you've got a solid team. You don't have a bad football team. It's not good. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. If we get to the playoffs, we'll see what happens. If we get to the playoffs and we win the division, we're hosting the Browns, and we're home underdogs. So, I mean, I just want to make the playoffs. That's all I want. If we lose the first round, that's fine. Just make the playoffs. Let's get into the dance, and let's have us a good time about it. Let's enjoy the season. That way we can look back on the season like, man, after all that happened, everything that happened in 2021 when we barely missed the playoffs, and then we go out and get Matt Ryan, and we do what we did last year, go 4-12-1. One of the worst seasons I can remember. An absolute shit show all season long. And then to go into this season like, man, and then lose your starting quarterback, you lose your rookie starting quarterback 5 weeks into the season, and to cut your backup come in, play pretty well, and everybody just seems to rally with everybody's playing pretty well. We're winning football games, and we're right there on the doorstep of the playoffs. Like Reggie Wayne said, bust the door down. Let's not jiggle the handle, see if it though. Let's bust the door down, man. Let's go. This is our time to make the playoffs. This is our time to potentially win the division. The AFC South is up for grabs. The Jaguars could lose to the Panthers. The Jaguars could lose to the Titans in Week 18. The AFC South could be the Indianapolis Colts, man. And let's go. Let's go. That's all I got. I hear my wife in there. She's ready for me to go. Thank you, everybody, for staying. Thank you for everybody for paying attention to all this. Let's go, Colts. I'm the big dog now. I'm the big dog. Look at this. I'm the big dog. I'm the big dog named Austin, man. Tomorrow, let's get it. Let's get it. Everybody who's there, loud and proud. Let's go. Let's go, Colts!